I've been writing some of the recipes for SaloonBox for a bit, and we've been putting on these workshops for the subscribers the last couple of months, and it's been super fun. I love doing it, and we're going to make some great cocktails tonight out of this kit. First and foremost, if anyone has any questions ever, please feel free to interrupt or put it in the chat or raise your hand, turn your cameras on so I can see a little bit better, because I'll go at a pretty normal pace. But if I need to slow down or anyone has any questions about technique or whatever, please let me know. And so I'm going to follow along with the recipe cards that we all have, these. And I'm also going to add in a little bit of, inside the industry bartender stuff about how to do this the right way to get, a cocktail that you could get out at your favorite cocktail lounge made at home. Because the benefit of cocktails over food in this case is that when you go out to eat at your favorite restaurant, the food's delicious because there's fat, there's salt all over it, like so much butter. You would not imagine how much butter is used in the kitchen. But when it comes to cocktails, the quality comes in the technique. So you can easily make a lot of cocktails at home that are just as good, if not better, than a lot of ones you get out and about. And that's one of my big things in terms of teaching these workshops. So if anyone has any questions, now's the time to ask. Does everyone have their bar tools, shaker tin, measuring device for ounces, everything all good together? Oh, and I recommend getting a small spoon of some kind to scoop out the blueberry preserve and the lemon curd, because you'll need to get something in there to get it out for measuring purposes. Additionally, I will say there's a puppy in my house and she's cranky today. So if you hear some yipping or yelping in the background, she's fine, she's being grumpy. Well, so far, so good. No questions.
We'll be recording this as well. So if there's a sound issue that doesn't get resolved, we'll send the link out for this recording.
Got it. Okay, well, in that case, we're gonna start making these drinks. So we're gonna start with the day tripper. This is gonna be a drink in a Collins glass like this, something tall and cylindrical. A glass you put a mojito in, a glass you put like if you're going like relatively old school terminology, you get like a vodka soda tall in one of these. Collins glass, that's what you need. So I'm going to change my camera view a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the detail, what I'm doing. Okie dokie. Hi, everyone. We're going to do most of the cocktail stuff down here so you can see what I'm doing. So got our Collins glass ready to go. Now, this drink is going to be shaken. So I have my shaker tin set here. I'll go ahead and put the small side down. It's important to use the small side when you're using a shaker tin set. Like this small side can easily be a pint glass, depending on what you're using. Whatever the small side is, you want to use that one to build the drink in. It's a good force of habit to use because if you even fill this little guy to the brim, you won't make too much liquid for the cocktail shaker, if that makes sense. Like this will fit into this all at once and you won't spill anything. That doesn't work the opposite direction. So it's very easy to either make too much or to have too much ice or something. If you build the big side, you have less control over the cocktail. So small side first. And then we are going to add the blueberry preserves and lemon curd into your shaker tin. Now it says ½ an ounce of the blueberry preserve and ¼ ounce of the lemon curd. That's difficult to measure in the state that they're in. So when it comes to an ounce, like a liquid ounce measurement of something that's not technically a liquid, you kind of want to look at what so I use a traditional Japanese jigger measuring device. It's got, this is a 1 ounce side. You can see inside the denotions, there's a ½ ounce, a ¾ ounce, and a ¼ ounce in there. I don't want to scoop this into there and try to measure it. That's like too many steps. And that's going to be you're going to spill it everywhere and it's going to be hard to scrape out of here too. So we're going to eyeball about what a ¼ ounce would be of the lemon curd. And now I'm going to go ahead and say that's about a ¼ ounce. You can see it's about the size of a teaspoon. And because it's a paste, you got to kind of tap it off as best you can. All right. Now it's a ½ ounce of the blueberry preserves. Same problem, just a larger measurement this time. So you can't pour this doesn't anywhere. So you want to do the same thing and scoop up about double what the lemon curd was. So there's my clump of blueberry preserve. Tap it in there. And bonus points, leave your spoon in there too at this point. Now, we've got our little bottles of vodka ready to go. Everyone ready to pour their vodka in?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. All right. So what's cool is that we're going to use the vodka to rinse off the spoon as much as possible, and also we're going to use the spoon to stir up some of the ingredients in here together. So I'm going to pour the vodka in on the spoon. It's nice and empty. And now I'm gonna use the bar spoon and the vodka together as like a little bit of like a washing cycle to make sure that I'm getting everything off the spoon that I can and really scraping the sides of the tin to make sure that every bit of blueberry preserve and the curd is in there. That's all. Just do it kind of real quick to get maximum ingredients. The spoon's pretty clean. You're getting maximum ingredients into the kit as it's supposed to be. Oops, sorry. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to shake this cocktail and then pour it over ice in this glass. So I'm going to add ice to both of these things at the same time. And there's a reason for that. If I poured ice into this and then shook it and then put this down and then filled this with ice, the drink is spending too much time with the ice that was shaken. And it's going to water down. Because the point of shaking is to break down a cocktail of all of the ingredients that it is and repurpose them into one cohesive cocktail, like one piece. So if you let it sit too long, there'll be more ice melting than it's supposed to be happening, and you'll get an overall more watered down cocktail. We don't want that. The ice in here won't melt in the time it takes me to shake this and strain it. So what you're doing is you're eliminating a step in between of stopping while shaking to add ice to this. Everyone got me? Make sense in there? Great. So ice in this, and then we're going to shake. So ice all the way to the brim, if not a little bit over. That's it's a good bartender trick, and I'll let you know why that's a thing. All right, and then ice into my shaker tin. Just a little bit more. You want the ice in the tin to be about double the liquid inside. Good rule of thumb for shaking. So now, what we're gonna do, hi everyone. So I'm gonna shake this drink. So I've got my two sides of shaker tin. I got the small one full of stuff, and I've got the big one empty. I'm gonna put them over like this at an angle and then tap down real hard on the top one with the palm of my hand, like so. The reason you do that is that pushes the metal around the smaller one and it creates a pressure seal. So the bottom doesn't fall out. So if I shake it like this, yeah, the bottom will fly out eventually, but the idea is you're adding the most well-sealed pressure seal possible. So switch that over, and I'm gonna shake this drink for about 5 seconds, real hard, and that's gonna get the whole process of breaking the drink down and repurposing it quickly. So about 5 seconds. All right, I'm gonna change my camera view for the next step. All right, so there we have our cocktail. I've shaken the drink. So now to open up my tin, you can see there's some condensation freezing on the side. That's usually a sign that you've shaken the drink the right amount of times. Everything's very cold in here. So to open it, I'm gonna take the palm of my hand and I'm gonna hit it right here against the flex metal, and that's gonna help pop that pressure seal. Like so. Then it opens. You wanna have your, where did I put my tea strainers? Right here. You wanna have a fine mesh tea strainer, because then we're gonna strain this drink over the ice here, and the tea strainer is going to keep all the preserved chunks, all the fruit pulp itself, out, rendering a cleaner and easier to drink cocktail. I'm going to go ahead and pour that, like so. A little tap on the side of your tin. Make sure you get all the chunks out, all the pulp out. And you'll see in there, that's ice crystals, that's fruit pulp, that's things that are gonna clog up your drink and make it a less enjoyable experience. So that's why we don't want this stuff in your cocktail. Put that to the side. And now fill with seltzer, gently. You wanna do it gently because if you do it quickly, there is sugar from the preserves in this, and sugar and carbonation react quickly. And you can often get like a heavy foam that builds up really fast. Like when you put champagne and orange juice together, the sugar and the carbonation and the alcohol all interacting, and it can foam up very easily. So now taking your, take this back. So now taking your bar spoon that you had earlier, your spoon, see all the cocktail itself is sitting here at the bottom, all the seltzers on top. You're gonna wanna give that just a quick stir. I'm spinning the spoon with my fingers and just kind of gently going up and down to make the whole cocktail a little more integrated. And then from there, take a dehydrated lemon wheel, right on top. So if you're looking at it from the top down, here's your cocktail, dehydrated lemon slice on top. And then a straw, if you're a straw person, maybe these paper straws at home. I'm one of those people, paper straw. And then you have the day tripper, blueberry, vodka, lemon curd, and a dehydrated lemon wheel. Oh, and I forgot about these. I brought them out, all special. If you happen to have fresh blueberries, go ahead and take a couple blueberries, put on a little skewer, and just lay them right over the top. Actually, tell you what to do. Quick tip, if you want to put fruit garnish on top of a cocktail, once it's skewered, dip it in the drink, take it back out and put it right on top. The little bit of like glistening liquid that you see there, that makes the garnish itself much more visually attractive. It's a fun trick of the mind, but it does work. So cheers, everyone. What do we think? Oh, good question, Jim.
Why?
Delicious. Okay, so the reason you fill up the glass with more ice than you think, like a little bit over the rim, as you pour the drink into, actually, this is a good point. Let me take the garnish out of here. As you can see, I took a sip of it. That's about as much as I drank out of the glass, and it is almost full top to bottom with ice and cocktail. The reason you want that is that as you pour the cocktail over the ice, as it settles a little bit, as the liquid melts a little bit of the ice, as you put seltzer on top of it, furthering the settling of the ice and the melting, you don't want there to be a separation of liquid and ice at the bottom. You see that a lot in a lot of cocktails that aren't very well built, because then you're not getting the correct amount of distribution of cold to cocktail. Like if you have if you ever want to drink, so when you go out and then there's like this much space at the bottom of just like liquid, that's usually either a bunch of runoff melted ice, or that's like too much mix, or that's indicative of a drink not being very like cohesive. So you want ice top to bottom because that is the most enjoyable drinking format for cocktails. Yeah, it helps you also hit the right amount of liquid per drink. For example, like with measuring drinks like this, you know, when you're all done shaking everything, you're pouring about 3 ounces of liquid. So you're able to make sure that you get all of the cocktail in there and you have enough space for any mixers or whatever else. Anyway, that's my, that's a day tripper. What do we think? Do we have any questions? Thank you. Hold on, I have to deal with my puppy. I will be back in 1 second.
Since Kyle went to go take care of his dog and we've got a little space, I'll share my dog with you. Eddie, come here. I love how he like won't leave me alone, and then the second that I want to show him off, he won't come. Hold on. Come here, Eddie.
He's so cute. How old is he again?
He's 1.5, roughly.
The SaloonBox mascot.
I know. All right, there he goes. My husband's going to take him for a walk.
Get him energized.
I actually just thought of a question for Kyle when he comes back. I know, like, sometimes some of our recipes will say, when you add soda, it will say to add it into the shaker before you strain it, which I always think that's interesting. And I always wonder why we do that sometimes, but not, and then sometimes we don't do that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Could be a matter of personal preference or a technicality, not sure.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Somebody said, can you post the link to all the recipes in the chat window? We actually don't have a page with all the recipes. We're kind of working on a little project to assemble not all of the recipes, but some of like our favorites, but I don't know how. I mean, Lindsay, do you know how we could do that?
To post the link?
Oh, maybe you just mean
Google,
like today's recipes, because we could do that, right?
Lisa, let's see. I'm not sure what Lisa. She means all of July recipes or all?
Why don't we post July recipes? Maybe
Okay.
That's what Lisa meant.
Got it. Okay. Let me get that.
That's a great idea. If anybody doesn't have their recipe card handy. So I'm guessing something's going on with Kyle's dog. So maybe we can prep. Oh, wait. Okay. Somebody said this is not the one element Kyle added to the recipe card was stirring after adding soda. Was that on the card? I think they mean in this case, when we're live, he stirred after adding soda, but we didn't do that on the card. Yeah, I think that's true. We should ask about that. I think maybe it was just something, I don't know, maybe he just thought of it today, but that's interesting. And then Lisa commented, you mentioned today's videos being recorded. Is there a link to all the video sessions? So we will try to share today's video session after today. Maybe if you don't, I don't know if we can email it out, but at least if you're interested in having that, send us an email to orders@SaloonBox. I'll put it in the chat and we'll send it to you. Kyle, you're back. How's the dog?
Raise your hand if you had to pull a dog toy out of your dog's throat just now.
Oh,
anyway, she's fine. She's an idiot. We're all fine. Just, dogs causing problems for attention. Anyway, I washed my hands. This is my one step, so it did take a minute longer. I didn't want to. I guess it's not for you guys, mostly for me. All right. Well, with that being said, good note to add the stirring in there. We can do that next time. So I'm gonna get started on.
Can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
You know how sometimes, like in a recipe, you'll add the soda to the shaker and stir it, or am I imagining that? I feel like we've done that sometimes.
Yes, that actually, this would be a great place to put that. It's a good point.
But why would you do that? Just
actually, in this case, no, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a good point. So the only time that's a really good idea is when you're dealing with a shake and dump cocktail. So, for example, the way I make mojitos, well, one of the ways that I've made mojitos is when you build it all in the shaker tin, your mint, your lime, your rum, and then you shake that, and then you dump it into a Collins glass. And obviously, you know that's not enough to fill the Collins glass. There's no seltzer in there. So you dump it in the Collins glass. Then I would hit my shaker tin with seltzer and then top that off to get the rest of the mint leaves and chunks out of there and the lime juice and whatever. I've done it that way. And I've done that with, there's a few other, I used to do that with Prosecco at a place I worked at for French 75s. I would, we had like a basil French 75 with fresh basil. So I'd pour the Prosecco into the tin, give it a stir with the basil leaves, then dump it on top of the cocktail. Yeah, I would say 90% of the time that's for like a shake and dump drink. In this case, you could probably use the small side of the tin. So I do this bad habit where I drop my small shaker tin into the bigger one to strain with. So I'm always using a small tea strainer anyway. This is a bad habit. Usually take the small one off and you put the strainer on top and then strain the small ones. And you could probably pour, if you didn't do what I did, you could fill this with a little bit of seltzer and stir it around a little bit to get that little bit of extra like stuff in there and get it into your drink. Maybe you could do that. Oh God, the drink is still awesome without stirring. Okay. All right. We are going to do the Globetrotter next. Does everyone have a martini glass or a coupe glass ready to go? Bonus points if you froze it. I don't have bonus points for myself today, but you know, yes, every drink can have lemon curd. I can't guarantee it'll be good in every drink, but every drink can. All right, you need your gin, your strawberry Shiso Shrub, bird's eye chili syrup. You're gonna need a lemon or crystallized lemon packets. And you have your Chipotle Cacao Bitters and a martini glass or coupe glass of some kind to do it with. I used to have like 6 really cool coupe glasses in different styles, and then all of them broke this week for various reasons. So I have these little joke guys I hate. We're gonna make this drink. Everyone ready to do this? Everyone feeling good? Any questions before we get started? All right, so I'm gonna go back down to my view here. All righty, so we're gonna build everything in here, and there's a certain process we're gonna go about it too, which is a little important. So we're going to do the gin, Shiso Strawberry Shrub, bird's eye chili syrup, lemon juice, and then 2 of the 4 dashes of Chipotle Cacao Bitters into your shaker tin. And we're gonna do it in a certain order. First and foremost, you're gonna have your bird's eye chili syrup. Go ahead, and I have my measuring device right here, and I'm gonna do a 1/4 ounce of the chili syrup. This bird's eye chili syrup, about a 1/4 ounce, is so delicious and good, and it definitely packs a punch heat-wise. It is spicier than a lot of people are ready for sometimes. So 1/4 ounce of that. The best part about this drink, though, if you like the spicy, you can up the syrup on your own, and it's going to really jack up the heat level. So first, syrup in. Now we're going to do 1 ounce of the Shiso Strawberry Shrub. And we're going to do that right in the same side of the measuring device I just used, for similar to what we were saying about rinsing out the shaker tin to dump whatever else in the cocktail is still in the tin. We're rinsing out the measuring device as much as possible to get all of the syrup out, to get all of the shrub out. And we're doing it in this order for that reason. So next, 1 ounce of shrub. Now, shrub is a vinegar-based syrup. It's a syrup and vinegar combination. So the vinegar is going to rinse off a lot of that bird's eye chili. I'm going to go ahead and pour that right in there. And now we're going to do lemon juice. So the recipe calls for 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. That is 1 packet of crystallized lemon powder. If you have it, I'm going to use a real lemon. And I'm going to measure out about, lemons don't fit. I don't know what to do about these lemons that like don't fit the regular lemon squeeze. Like, how do I fit it in there? I'm trying to, all right. So I'm going to measure out a 1/2 ounce into this very carefully. It's hard to measure into a measuring like a jigger or something like that out of these because you're squeezing a lemon. It's not very precise, but there you go. There's your 1/2 ounce right in. And now, last but not least, we are going to add the vodka sorry, gin. We're gonna use the gin. And we're going to keep pouring into that small side. You're gonna use the entire bottle, so only pour a little bit at a time. And that's gonna rinse out all the remnants of everything we put in there so far, leaving your measuring device basically clean and as much of all of the ingredients in here as possible. Now, the last step is take your bitters, your Chipotle Cacao Bitters, and you're gonna do 2 drops or 2 dashes directly into your shaker tin. So 1, 2. Now, when it comes to bitters, these dashes are suggestions, and it's also very much based on your own perspective. Like for me, a dash may be someone else's 2 dashes. For someone else, it might be 1 dash or a droplet. It's all up to you. It's very subjective how you use bitters. And it's one of those things that, like, for your flavor profile, what you want to do, go for it. But I recommend doing 2 dashes, not a ton, into your shaker tin as it sits now. Put that to the side to reuse it. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is, like I said before, I'm gonna shake this drink, then I'm gonna strain it into my martini glass. And fill my small side of my shaker tin with ice. Again, I'm gonna hold my tin like this. You give it a firm, hard tap right on the back like you did before. And then go about shaking it. For this cocktail, I'm gonna recommend shaking it a little bit longer because you have the syrup and the shrub to break up and repurpose. So I'm gonna say shake this drink for about 7 seconds instead of 5. All right, that's my 7 at least. So now we're going to strain this the way we did before. Go ahead and hit palm of your hand right back here. Just like so. That happened to me. And then go ahead and strain that directly into your martini or coupe glass, like so. Tap that out, make sure that all the liquid's out of there. Look at all that ice crystals, chips, all that junk in there that you don't want actually in your cocktail, or at least I don't want in your cocktail. So this drink needs the 2 more dashes of bitters on top. Now, the reason you're doing 2 on top and 2 in it is that I want the flavor of the bitters, the cacao chipotle, to be in the cocktail. And the reason we put bitters on top of drinks is that it's going to settle on top. The bitters doesn't really meld into the drink very much. So when you bring the cocktail to your face, the first thing you smell before your lips hit it is the bitters on top. And that's how bitters are often used in cocktails, to be like a top layer smell introduction to the rest of the drink. I don't think we put a garnish for this one, but what I'm gonna do is recommend, if you have a fresh lemon on hand, go ahead and do just a simple lemon wheel because it looks pretty. So I've got my lemon round here. This lemon's a little overripe. It has a hole in the center. Usually you don't want that, but we're gonna make it work. And the way to do a good lemon wheel is you don't really break that center pith area. Like if you break that, the whole structure of the fruit breaks down, right? It's all little nodules inside this thing. So what you want to do is you want to cut right in the middle of one of those pieces of fruit and only about halfway in, like so. Just there and there. That way you have a notch in the fruit, but doesn't go all the way through to the center, and it will, hopefully, stay right on the side. And now this is a funny shaped glass for the drink that it is. The lemon looks ridiculously huge. But here you go. This should be your Globetrotter. Gin, strawberry shiso, bird's eye chili syrup, one of my favorites, Chipotle Cacao Bitters, and lemon juice. This should be crisp and refreshing, spicy at the same time, got a little nice heat in the background. Cheers, everyone. Yum. That one's really good. What do we think of that? How's everyone feeling?
So good. It's like, I just did a 1/4 ounce of the bird's eye chili syrup.
Yeah.
And it's spicy.
So many layers, like sweet and spicy.
Yeah, that's what you want to have when it's I mean, I compare it to food all the time because it's very much the similar thing. You want to have sweet, you want to have spicy, you want to have savory, you want to have there's no like fat, but you get, well, and there can be actually with like a milk fat wash something. Anyway, you want the drink to be multi-layered, and so you get a little bit of I don't know, nuance to it. It doesn't taste like, that's my thing with a lot of like regular drinks where it's like, if you get like a, for example, a lemon drop, it tastes like lemon and like candy, like, mostly. It's like one thing. But you know, what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do with these cocktail recipes is add a little bit of depth to them, and use something that is oddly spicy, like the bird's eye chili syrup or the Chipotle Cacao Bitters. Those are Chipotle Cacao. In this, it by all means shouldn't really work because those two flavors, Chipotle sort of goes with bird's eye chili, but bird's eye chili is it's a Thai pepper, and it's very sharp and hot. Whereas Chipotle is, it's just jalapenos that are dried and aged. It's just smoky, and we know that flavor of a char, smoky kind of pepper. So those two really don't really meet in the middle, because you think about bird's eye chili and you think about, like, you know, a lot of citrus, like yuzu, for example, is often used. So the lemon juice in there works really, really well. I think the thing that really brings it all together is the strawberry Shiso Shrub. Say that a couple more times. Because so shrubs, when they make the cat out of the bag with shrubs, is that you can make them very easily from home. For example, I made a strawberry rhubarb shrub a while ago. So it's strawberry and rhubarb chopped up in equal proportions. I did like 4 cups of each, and then 8 cups of sugar. So equal parts sugar and fruit product. Let that sit for like 2 days in the fridge. So it macerated, the fruit broke down, strained all the liquid out, made a syrup out of it. And then for this recipe, it was equal parts syrup to apple cider vinegar. So all of a sudden you have double the amount of, you know, cocktail thing that you're making, right? Because the syrup instantly, I made so much, I made too much. I made like 3 quarts of syrup. So I had like 6 quarts of shrub all of a sudden out of nowhere. But the thing about using shrubs is that the vinegar does this really cool thing where it preserves the fruit flavor. I compare it to kombucha a lot. So kombucha smells gross, tastes good. That's how shrubs work. You often smell, if you smell the Shiso Shrub by itself, you would smell vinegary. Like, it smells like, you open it right now, that's vinegar, right? It smells like vinegar to me. But you don't taste that in the cocktail. It doesn't taste like vinegar. And the vinegar does this cool thing depending on which vinegar you use for which fruit, because it turns out that actually makes a difference too. Shout out to the blackberry shrub I made. That's not good because I used too much apple cider vinegar and not something else. Shrubs are really great for binding the cocktail together because it hits that tart, that sour, it hits that very sharp citrusy fruit, and it's sweet because it's still syrup. So yeah, any good cocktail recommendations for camping, fireside cocktails? Yes. Yes, I do. I think there'll be a good one in the August kit, actually. So, I mean, great. So, you know what you can do, actually, is really, really easy. You can make a hot toddy ahead of time. And by that, I mean, you get a bottle of bourbon, you get some orange peels, you get some clove pods, you get some star anise pods, you get some cinnamon sticks, and like a couple squirts of honey. And you just throw that all into a big container, let it sit for like 2 days, strain all the junk out, and you've got a bottle of bourbon that is now heavily spiced. All you got to do is add some water, maybe a little bit of sugar and a lemon if you want to, and there you go. You've got a hot toddy ready to go at all points. It's very easy to do fireside. It's a good one. Or you just pour it over the rocks and not even have it as a hot toddy. You have a nice like spiced bourbon cocktail fireside. That's a good one. Can I explain the difference between bitters, tinctures, and shrubs? Yes. So bitters and tinctures, same thing. Shrubs, different. Shrubs are vinegar and syrup mixed together. I went into them a little bit earlier. Bitters and tinctures, they are usually done very, very, very heavy on the alcohol. Think about them as almost, I would compare them in a way to like an essential oil, where it's the flavor of what it says, in this case, Chipotle cacao, and it is very much concentrated down to a small bottle that's high potency of flavor with small delivery vehicle. And unlike essential oils, they have to use a neutral oil for that. For bitters, they soak it in like 90% alcohol And all that does is it removes the flavor from whatever they're soaking it in, be it lemons or Chipotle Cacao or lime, or there's a million types of bitters. They strain those things out and you get this very highly concentrated flavor. Because if you, a great way of noticing that how much alcohol's in bitters, you splash them into your hand and then just put your face right in it, you'll get a hot wave of alcohol right off, because that's what bitters are. But then you'll get the second flavor of what it actually is. So usually when I'm tasting bitters or testing them, I squirt some in my hand, I rub my hands together, I smell them. That's usually how you get a good idea for what bitters are used for. Why don't I use bitters versus tincture versus shrub? I would use bitters and tinctures kind of the same way. Tinctures lend themselves to be maybe a little bit larger volume of liquid. Maybe it's a slightly lower alcohol content. That's not super normal. Like let me think of a good tincture. There's a milk thistle tincture that I've used before, where it's like we got some at a health food store for a milk thistle cocktail, and that's like the vegetable. I was gonna say fruit. That's the vegetable itself. That is same thing, distilled down to nothing but a gray little liquid that carries so much potency from the actual thing. So the tinctures are so similar to bitters. I'd have a hard time differentiating when you'd use them differently. I'd say maybe tinctures do lend themselves more to like a fruit concept rather than like aromatics or spicy. But for bitters, I put them in a lot of things. Like it depends. Like tonight we put some in the cocktail and on top. There's a lot of times where that really, really works. There's I was gonna say any kind of spicy bitters is great for that. If you're making a cocktail with spicy bitters, be them like habanero bitters or there's Hellfire. There's a couple of different ones. I have this one, it's a local New York company. It's used scorpion chili and there's a real scorpion in the bottle. So it's like double scorpion, because the scorpion, it actually adds like a woody, oaky flavor to it. It's very interesting. But I put that in the drink, because if you just put a bunch of spicy bitter on top of the drink, you're going to smell it. And when you drink it, it's going to hit your lips first, and then you're going to annihilate yourself. So usually you want to do a small amount on top and some in there, so you get more of a comprehensive flavor experience and not just putting a small little nuke on top of your cocktail that you're going to drink first. That's what you don't want to do. So yeah, I guess that would be my how I'd use bitters versus tinctures versus shrubs as best as possible. That's a good one.
That was a recipe we sent out a long time ago, but since you mentioned scotch and camping, it reminded me of that one. It's really good.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, everyone. So we've got our cocktails. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Anyone have any questions? I could also like whip up a mystery cocktail really quick if you want to try something different with what's in these kits.
That'd be cool. I think we said something about we were going to give a sneak peek into the next month's box on our call. So I can't forget to do that. So just to let everybody know what's coming up in August, one of our drinks it's a tiki cocktail with orgeat and Polynesian bitters and coconut and some other flavors. And then our other cocktail, it's going to be, it's an Italian Paloma. It's basically tequila, a little limoncello, and some other great ingredients. I'm not going to say everything, but those are sneak peeks.
Yeah, the tequila limoncello one's really, really good. That's going to be super refreshing and delicious. And it's a good version of a Paloma too. Yeah, they're gonna be some good drinks. The tiki one, I love playing around with tiki cocktail flavors too, because there's a million different directions you can go, all with like the same set of base ingredients. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. We use that orgeat a lot too. Been using it a lot around here.
We've included it in a while, actually.
It's a orgeat's a challenging thing, to be honest. It's almond syrup, and we're using a flavored one. It's not easy to do because almond syrup tastes very specific. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on mute. I'm gonna go rinse out one of these shaker tins real quick, and then I'm gonna do an egg white version of one of these drinks. How does that sound?
Sounds good. So we need an egg white.
Well, yeah, egg white, or I did bring an egg. I'm gonna rinse this guy out real quick, and I'll make an egg white cocktail. Be right back.
Okay.
I'm looking at the chat box. I'm trying to think, have we ever used Drambuie in a cocktail? I don't think we have, actually.
Can we get Drambuie in that small size?
You can, it's available, but I don't think we've ever included it. Let me just do a quick search.
That would be, I love Drambuie cocktail. I haven't had a rusty nail in so long.
Yeah.
There.
So
Great drinks.
We'll add that to our list of something we need to do.
Sounds good to me. Who doesn't love a honey and scotch syrup? Ooh, I have an idea for that. I'm going to let you know after this workshop. I don't want to give it all away, Samantha. I have a good idea. All right. So, frankly, the Globetrotter very much lends itself to being an egg white cocktail. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use the Globetrotter, the outline of the Globetrotter, to make an egg white cocktail that's what I want to drink. So we're gonna go, I'm gonna change the camera. There we go. All righty. We've got our stuff. Don't need a knife. So what we're going to do is start with your egg white. Probably the most important part. So, egg whites, a little hard to get out of the egg itself. Gotta be kind of careful. Didn't like tap your egg. When I'm actually bartending, I do this like in advance and have a little squeezy bottle of egg whites. But you want to split your egg about right in half and let the egg white itself just drain out of the shell. You want to get as much of it as you can. And if you don't feel like adept at moving it around and you have a chance of spilling, don't worry about it. Just get as much as you can, call it good. When I make egg white cocktails, like at bartending, where I'm bartending, I use about 3/4 ounce of egg whites in all my drinks. That's like a baseline of what it is, which is roughly a little less than what a whole egg is, but it's easy to measure. All right, so 1 whole egg white right in there. Then we are going to get our gin, pour that right in, the whole bottle, like so. Take this strawberry Shiso Shrub and we're gonna do 3/4 ounce. We're gonna do less. All right, right in. And we're gonna take that bird's eye chili. And now I'm gonna do 1/2 ounce because I like things spicy. If you prefer 1/4 ounce, that's also okay. There's no judgment. This is a personal interpretation of the cocktail. All right, so last but not least, I'm gonna go ahead and finish squeezing whatever's left of this lemon in here. I'm gonna get maybe about 3/4 ounce of lemon juice, I wanna say. Oh, that's a juicy lemon. 3/4 ounce. No, this one lemon half has produced like 1.5 ounces of lemon juice. All right, so 3/4 ounce of lemon juice right in there as well. So when it comes to making egg white cocktails, actually we are gonna do the bitters. I'm gonna do 2 dashes of bitters in there. There you go. Okay, so your drink should look like a bunch of boogers at this point, sitting in your cocktail shaker. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna dry shake this, which means shake it without ice. And then we're going to reshake it with ice for the same duration that we dry shook it. The reason for that is that when you make an egg white cocktail, your I said earlier, when you shake a drink with regular, ice and all the ingredients, whatever it is, you're breaking down the raw ingredients and you're repurposing them as one cohesive ingredient. That's what this does on steroids. Egg whites are a protein, they're a binder. So what they're gonna do is latch onto all the different ingredients during the dry shake and start to begin building structure. When there's a protein or a starch and you keep mixing it and working it and working and working it, it begins to tighten and toughen up. Like if you're at like a hamburger that was overworked before they cooked it, and it's like tough by definition, just because whoever's making it mashed it too many times and pulled it apart too many times, that happens really, really easily. And with this case, you're gonna try to think about making a meringue. You know how meringues are made? You whip egg whites to hell and back. So we're gonna do the same thing, because you wanna get these egg whites as agitated as possible for maximum mixing of the entire cocktail. Yeah, Jim Pierce, Ramos Gin Fizz. One of my favorites to drink, least favorite to make, because it takes about 10 minutes to make it the right way. All right, so I'm gonna go back up here. I've got my cocktail shaker full of cocktail, empty tin on top, tap it, and then I'm gonna shake this for like probably about 10 seconds. And you wanna do it real hard too. So I'm just gonna, it's funny, whenever I'm bartending doing this, people look at me funny because it's not making any sounds, but I'm like really going at it. It's always kind of a funny thing. So I'm like, I swear there's something in here. So yeah, about 10 seconds or so. And you wanna make sure that what you're doing is keeping it agitated as much as possible. And you wanna keep like I do a little like wrist flick when I go back and forth. So I'm trying to keep it spinning in a circle while I'm shaking it. That's like some next level, been bartending for 13 years shit, but all right. So that's about 10 seconds. So what I'm gonna do is pop that open. And if you look real quick before I add ice, you can see there's a nice foam built in this cocktail. That's what you want. So now I'm gonna fill the small side with ice, because you never wanna throw ice into the bigger side. It's harder to measure. So at this point, I'm gonna fill this little guy with ice to finish the drink. Like so. So now I'm gonna reshake this for a very similar amount of time and effort that I did previously. I'm gonna mute myself, it's gonna be loud. Well, here you go. All right, that's about 10. Again, my shaker tin is beginning to freeze the condensation on the outside. That's always a good sign. That means your drink is adequately chilled. So for an egg white cocktail, I always play by the rules. I use a different strainer instead of doing the cheap trick that I do. So grab your strainer, grab your mesh tea strainer, and then you're just gonna pour right through. Like so. So look at that. It's like you can see just a very creamy, foamy top, not unlike the top of cappuccino. It's well made. Now, what you do, shake your bitters. Those 2 dashes, very gently. I'm gonna drop it. 1, 2. Do a couple of dashes around the top if you can. So you can see them, you can kind of see them. See, there you can see them. And then you wanna be fancy. So you can see them there. And you take a skewer or a pick or your finger, or whatever you want to do, not your fingers, something small, like a knife edge or a cocktail pick or a skewer. And then you can just very gently draw some little designs with the bitters droplets on top. And what you should have at the end of all of this is a frothy, foamy egg white cocktail that is creamy and delicious to drink. You'll see it begin to separate foam and liquid eventually. But for the time being, this looks like it is one drink top to bottom. There's no separation. It's creamy and foamy on top, foam so much that you can scoop it up with your finger. And so that is really, really good. If you've done that the right way, it should have a more viscous drinking experience. So to unpack that a little bit, it should feel a little thicker to drink, but also kind of like how you drink a cold brew and it feels creamy, even though there's not cream in it. Same idea. You get a creamy consistency from the egg whites that are whipped as you shake it. And that makes it a very pleasant drinking experience. I find that with egg white cocktails, the way that they're made right, the egg white protein structures bind to the alcohol and the ingredients, makes like a really cohesive, all at once. There's no egg, there's no ice chips I'm dying over. I'm not, searching for a straw. There's no garnish on my face. The egg white cocktails, I think, are probably one of the more enjoyable designs for drinking a cocktail. So you can see now mine is just starting to separate a little bit. You can see there's like foam up to here, and then like the rest of the cocktail's down there. That doesn't change how it drinks. It still is very much is consumed the same way. If you let it sit for like 10 minutes, maybe not, it'll sort of separate more. You'll notice more of a separate foam and then separate cocktail. But as long as you drink an egg white cocktail in the first, 10 to 15 minutes, should be good. What do we think? Did anyone go along with me in the egg white cocktail?
Mine's very flat, but it still tastes delicious.
That's good.
Like there's not enough foam.
It's all right. I think probably not enough shaking, or not hard enough shaking on both ends, but hey, you get there.
Practice.
More muscled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every time I'm behind the bar and people are like, "Oh wow, I guess you don't have to go to the gym anymore," and I'm like, "Well, sort of. This isn't cardio, but yeah, I just this all the time, shaking drinks." And to be fair, I have made like several thousand egg white cocktails in my career, so it's kind of hard to forget.
But is it just like one arm that's really strong?
No, that was one of my things a long time ago when I was first starting to bartend. That was the thing, is that like I wanted to be as fast as possible. And that means being able to use two hands. And so when it comes to shaking drinks, I'm ambidextrous. Shaking and stirring, I'm ambidextrous. Not much else though.